while she slept. Some hearts break in silence. Some love stories begin with revenge. Prologue. Celeste. The night everything ended. They say the night before your life falls apart, you sleep better than you ever have. That you laugh a little louder. That you hold the things you love without knowing they are already slipping through your fingers. That was me. I laughed that night. I drank champagne with my fiancé and touched my belly beneath the table. Our secret, our beginning. I was 25 years old and I believed, completely and without question, that I was the luckiest woman alive. I did not know that within hours a storm would swallow my car whole. That a teenage boy with terrified eyes would drag me out of the wreckage. That the family I had so carefully imagined would be dismantled by people who claimed to love me. I did not know I would be told my child was dead. I did not know I would stop breathing. I did not know I would sleep, truly sleep, frozen and still and silent, for 10 years. But I know now. I know everything now. And I have come back. Part 1. Before Chapter 1. The Woman Who Had Everything. Celeste. My name is Celeste Voss and I have never once in my life wanted for anything. I say this not to be cruel, not to boast, but because it is simply the truth. A truth I wore the way other women wore perfume. Effortlessly. Naturally. Without thinking about it at all. I grew up in a house with 14 rooms and a swimming pool that caught the morning light like a jewel. My father was the kind of man who built things, towers of steel and glass that scraped the Johannesburg skyline. And my mother was the kind of woman who made every room she entered feel smaller by comparison. Beautiful. Precise. Demanding. I inherited all of it. The money. The bones. The certainty that the world would arrange itself around me. So when Marcus Hale walked into my best friend's birthday party with that slow, devastating smile and said, "You must be the Celeste Voss. I've heard about you," I was not flattered. I was simply unsurprised. Of course he had heard of me. What I did not expect, what unraveled me entirely, was that I fell for him. Marcus was not like the men my family approved of. He was not old money. He had not gone to the right schools or lunched at the right clubs. He was self-made, which in my mother's vocabulary was a polite way of saying unfinished. But he had this way of looking at me, really looking, as though I were the only fixed point in a spinning room. "You're arrogant," he told me once, 3 weeks into whatever we were. We were lying on the rooftop of my apartment. It was late. The city hummed below us like a living thing. I turned my head toward him. "Yes," I said simply. And he laughed. He laughed like I had given him a gift. I think that was the moment I decided to love him. We were together for 2 years before I found out I was pregnant. I sat on the cold edge of my bathtub with the test in my hand and I waited for fear. I waited for the breathless, falling sensation I imagined every woman felt in that moment. But what came instead was something quieter and far more dangerous. Joy. Pure, blinding, unreasonable joy. I called Marcus immediately. He picked up on the second ring and I could hear noise in the background, voices, laughter, before he stepped away and the world went quiet. "I'm pregnant," I said. Pause. Long enough for me to count 3 heartbeats. "Hey," he said. His voice was even. "Hey, we'll figure it out." I told myself that was love. That steadiness. That calm. I did not hear what was underneath it. In the months that followed, I became something I had never been before. Soft. Desperate. I, who had never chased anything in my life, found myself chasing Marcus. Chasing a ring, a date, a promise. I wanted to be married before the baby came. I wanted it with a ferocity that embarrassed me when I was honest with myself and terrified me when I was not. My friends noticed. My mother noticed. "You're obsessed," my friend Zara said one afternoon. We were shopping. I had stopped in front of a window display of wedding dresses without realizing it. "I just want things to be right," I said. "Things are right," she said carefully. "You have a home, a man, a baby coming. What isn't right?" I couldn't answer her. I only knew that some quiet animal part of me was afraid. That it kept circling something I refused to name. That night Marcus came home late. He kissed my forehead and said he'd been at a work dinner. I believed him. I always believed him. I had no idea that the woman whose perfume clung faintly to his collar was someone he had been seeing for the better part of a year. But the body knows what the mind refuses. And mine, even then, was already bracing for impact. Chapter 2. The Boy in the Storm. Then, I was 17 years old the night I destroyed a woman's life. I know that's not quite how it happened. I know that storms don't ask permission and wet roads don't care who's in a hurry. I know all of this. I've had 10 years to know it. And still, when I close my eyes in the quiet hours of the night, I see her car spinning. I see her face through the glass. It was a Thursday. The tail end of July, which in that part of South Africa meant a cold that got into your bones and refused to leave. I was coming back from a tutoring session I hadn't wanted to attend. Math, which I was failing because I couldn't concentrate on math when my father was working double shifts at his clinic and the electricity had been cut at home for the third time that year. My father was Dr. Joseph Cole. He ran a small, underfunded clinic in a part of the city that the government forgot about and the wealthy never visited. He was a brilliant man. He was also a man who had spent his whole life being paid in gratitude instead of money, which meant we were always one bad month away from disaster. I didn't resent him for it. I want to be clear about that. I was 17 and sometimes I was angry about our life the way teenagers are angry, loudly and inwardly and without knowing exactly what they're angry at. But I loved my father. I always loved him. I just wanted more for us. I think that's allowed. The road that night was a mistake. I knew the shortcut through the hill roads, knew it saved 20 minutes, and 20 minutes mattered because I wanted to be home before my father finished his shift. I wanted to have dinner on the table. Small things. The kind of small things that become everything when everything else is hard. I didn't see her car until it was too late. She came around the bend fast, too fast for conditions, though I wouldn't understand that until later. And when she hit the patch of water that had pooled at the curve's lowest point, her car did not so much skid as fly. A slow, horrible arc, metal screaming. Glass fracturing the rain. My bicycle went down. My knee hit the asphalt. For a moment I just lay there in the wet dark, ears ringing. Then I heard it. A sound so small it barely existed. A sound that reached inside my chest and pulled. A woman crying. I don't remember deciding to move toward the car. I don't remember the decision at all. I remember only that I was there, at the driver's window, crouching in the rain pouring down my neck, and she was inside and her forehead was bleeding and she was clutching her stomach with both hands. Her stomach. Something in me understood immediately. The way she was protecting that part of herself even in unconsciousness. The careful, instinctive curl of her body. "I've got you," I said. My voice came out steadier than I felt. "I've got you. Can you hear me?" Her eyes opened. They were dark brown, almost black in the night's light, and they found my face with a focus that frightened me. "Hi, baby," she said. "I know," I said. "I'm going to get you help. Don't move. Please don't move." I called my father with shaking hands. Then I held hers until he came. Chapter 3. The Things We Do in Love's Name. Celeste. There are things I remember from that night with perfect clarity. The cold. The smell of rain on hot asphalt. The boy's hands, large for his age, rough-palmed, holding mine. His voice saying over and over in a low, steady rhythm, "I've got you. I've got you. I've got you." And there are things I do not remember at all. The clinic. The doctors. The voices of my family when they arrived. What they decided in the room where they thought I couldn't hear them. What they decided without me. My name is Celeste Voss and I was 5 months pregnant when a storm and a slick road rewrote my entire life. Dr. Joseph Cole, a small, serious man with tired eyes and capable hands, told my family that I was stable but critically injured. Internal bleeding. 3 fractured ribs. A head wound that had swollen into something alarming. He told them I needed surgery. He told them the baby was still alive. He told them there was every chance it could stay that way. And then my mother said, "What are the risks to Celeste if we keep the pregnancy?" And the thing about my mother is that she never asked questions she didn't already know the answer to. Then I heard them arguing from the corridor. I should not have been there. My father had sent me to wait outside to drink the bad coffee from the vending machine and calm down. But I was 17 and I had held that woman's hand while she whispered about her baby, and I could not make myself leave. The family was well dressed. Even I checked the clock on the wall, 2:30 in the morning, they were well dressed. The mother wore a coat that probably cost more than our month's rent. There were 2 men I took to be uncles or cousins. There was a man who kept checking his phone. I noticed the man with the phone. He had come in last, rushing, guilt written all over him in the particular way that people carry guilt when they have been somewhere they shouldn't. He said almost nothing. He stood slightly apart from the group, and his face when he looked toward the room where she lay was complicated in a way I was too young then to fully read. I would spend years trying to understand that look. The mother was speaking. Her voice was low and controlled and very firm. The doctor said there are risks. We cannot risk Celeste for this. It's her baby, someone said. She is my baby, the mother replied. And she is unconscious, and I am making this decision, and we are not going to discuss it further. I pushed myself off the wall. I found my father in his office. He was sitting with his elbows on his desk and his face in his hands. Baba, I said. He looked up. His eyes were very tired. They want to terminate the pregnancy, he said. He did not soften it. He never softened things for me, which I sometimes resented and always, in the end, respected. But you said the baby is fine. You said there's a way. There is a way, he said carefully. There is a procedure, experimental but not without precedent, that could allow the fetus to continue developing outside the womb. An ectogenesis support system. I have the equipment. I have done the research. But it requires the family's consent. And they won't give it. They have not yet decided. I sat down across from him. I was shaking and I hadn't noticed until then. The baby is alive, I said. Yes. And she wanted it. She said, she kept saying. I know what she said, Ethan. He looked at me for a long moment. I know. I don't know how long we sat there. I know that at some point I said, is there anything we can do without their consent? My father was quiet for a very long time. That depends, he said finally, on whether we are willing to live with the consequences. I already have to live with the consequences, I said. She was on that road because of me. He looked at me then with an expression I had never seen on his face before. Not anger. Not disappointment. Something older. Sadder. No, he said quietly. She was on that road because of herself. But perhaps we are here in this moment because we are meant to be. He stood. He walked to the window. He made a decision that would change all of our lives forever. Chapter 4: What They Buried. Then, the family gave consent for the termination. My father performed the surgery. What the family did not know, what no one but my father and I and one exhausted night nurse who owed my father her career knew, was that the procedure he performed was not the one they had authorized. He saved the baby. He extracted the fetus at 22 weeks and placed her, because she was a tiny, furious girl, into the ectogenesis chamber. A machine that should not have existed in a clinic like ours. A machine my father had spent 3 years quietly acquiring piece by piece from research contacts and medical surplus. A machine he had never intended to use but could not bring himself to dismantle. He had always known, I think, that someday it would matter. The family was told the pregnancy had been terminated. When Celeste woke, 2 days later, pale and fractured and immediately, devastatingly asking about her baby, she was told the same. I was not in the room when they told her. But I was in the corridor. And the sound she made, God. I have heard a great many things in the years since. I have heard board meetings and business pitches and the particular cold silence of a deal that's gone wrong. I have heard Lily cry the way children cry when something frightens them badly. I have heard thunder over an open ocean. Nothing has ever sounded like Celeste Voss finding out her child was dead. Celeste. I want to describe it accurately. I want to be fair to the memory because it is the last clear memory I have before the darkness. My mother was holding my hand. She was wearing the expression she reserved for difficult things. Composed, careful, braced. The baby didn't make it, my love, she said. The doctors did everything they could. I remember that the ceiling had a water stain in the shape of something I couldn't identify. I remember staring at it. I remember thinking, she is lying. I remember thinking I would know. A mother would know. Then I remember not thinking anything at all. Just grief. Just the particular, total annihilation of grief that has no bottom. Where is Marcus? I said. My mother's grip tightened. He's on his way, darling. But even then, even wrecked and broken and emptied out, I noticed that she did not meet my eyes when she said it. I thought, this is it. This is the thing I was afraid of. The thing I couldn't name. And then the grief came back bigger this time and I stopped thinking about Marcus. I stopped thinking about anything. I felt something tear inside my chest. Not a metaphor, something physical, something real. And I heard a nurse shout and then I heard nothing at all. Then, she coded in the room. They brought her back. Technically. But she did not return. Her eyes opened briefly, unseeing, and then she was gone again, into something that was not sleep and not death but existed in the terrible space between. The doctors at my father's clinic could not explain it. The grief, they said. The trauma. The brain protecting itself by retreating somewhere unreachable. Her family transferred her to a private hospital the following morning. Then another hospital a week later when the first could offer no hope. Then another. I did not find out what happened to her after that for some time. My father forbade me from making inquiries. It was too dangerous, he said. We had done what we had done and now we had to live quietly. We had a baby to take care of. He was the size of my palm. He breathed through a tube. She had a head of dark hair and hands so small they seemed impossible. She was the most terrifying thing I had ever seen. She was the most beautiful. My father named her Lily because he said she had come through something unimaginable and still she was perfect. Still she reached for light. I was 17 years old and I sat beside her incubator every day and I made her a promise. I promised her I would not let her down. Chapter 5. The Ice and the Years. Celeste. Fragment. Told. I am cold and I am dreaming and the dream does not end. Sometimes I hear voices. My mother. A man I don't know. Once I think I hear a child laughing. I reach for it. I always reach for it. The cold pulls me back. The world. 10 years later. What the world knew was this. Celeste Voss, heiress, socialite, 25 years old, had died following a tragic car accident. The funeral was beautiful. Her photograph appeared in 3 newspapers. Her father's company stock dipped briefly, then recovered. Marcus Hale attended the service in a dark suit and wept publicly and married another woman 14 months later. What the world did not know. Celeste Voss was not dead. She lay in a private facility funded entirely by her family. A research institute that operated in the gray legal space between medicine and science, working with technology that was not yet legal, that may never be entirely legal, that the Voss family had paid an extraordinary sum to access and an even more extraordinary sum to keep quiet. The technology kept her body preserved, kept her brain activity present, minimal, persistent. A pilot light in an empty house. Her father, Raymond Voss, refused every medical board's recommendation, refused every lawyer's advice, refused the moment when his wife finally said, Raymond, she would not want this. You don't know what she would want, he said. She never got to want anything. They took that from her. He meant the accident. His wife thought he meant the accident. Raymond Voss had spent 10 years quietly investigating what had actually happened in that small clinic on a hill road in the rain. He knew about the baby. He had known for 3 years. He had said nothing. He had waited. He had watched the doctor's son become a young man, become a businessman, raise his daughter in a city far away. He had waited for his own daughter to come back. Because Raymond Voss had always known she would come back. He was right. Chapter 6. She opens her eyes. Celeste. The first thing I see when I wake up is a ceiling. Not the ceiling with the water stain. A different ceiling. White, clinical, without character. A ceiling that could belong to anywhere. The second thing I see is my father. He is old. Raymond Voss is 63 years old and he has been old since before I knew what old meant. But now he is old in a way that frightens me. Old in the way that people get when something has been slowly eating them from the inside for a very long time. He is also crying. I have never in 35 years of living, though I only feel 25, seen my father cry. Hi Daddy, I say. My voice is wrong. Thin. Scratched hollow. Like something left outside too long. He covers his mouth with one hand. His shoulders shake once. Then he straightens. My father always straightens and he takes my hand and he says, Welcome back, my girl. They tell me carefully. They are so careful. The doctors, my father, my mother who is thinner and grayer and holds my hand without speaking for the first hour. 10 years. I look at the word and cannot attach it to myself. Sleeping they call it. Preserved. In stasis. They say the technology worked better than anyone hoped, and the experimental reactivation procedure my father demanded, insisted upon over and over for years while everyone told him it was futile, had worked. My body is the same. This is the strangest part. I look at my hands and they are the hands I have always had. My face in the mirror. Someone brings me a small mirror and holds it up. Is the face I remember. 25 years old. I am 35 years old and I look 25 and 10 years are simply gone, and everything in them is gone with those years. Marcus, I say. My mother looks at her hands. He got married, my father says. 3 years after you went to sleep. He has 2 children. I wait for the pain. Comes but not as I expected. Not the savage devastation of love betrayed. Something quieter. Older. As though that wound had been tended while I slept, and what remained was only the scar. And my baby, I say. This is the moment everything changes. My father squeezes my hand. He looks at me with the expression of a man who has rehearsed this conversation 1,000 times and still does not know how to begin it. Your baby didn't die, he says. By the time he finishes telling me everything, I am sitting very still. I am very good at stillness now. I have had 10 years to practice. A doctor. A boy 17 who held my hand in the rain. His father who went against my family's wishes and saved my daughter. A baby who grew up in that clinic's back room and then in a house, and then, when the boy became a man and the man took his daughter and started a new life, in the United States of America. New York, my father says. He has a business. Something in real estate development. He is 27 years old and successful beyond what anyone expected, and he has raised my daughter, my Lily, who is 9 years old and has never been told the truth about who she is. He calls himself her father, my mother says, and the disgust in her voice is a thing I could touch. I say nothing. I am busy doing something else. I am building something in the quiet center of myself, behind my sternum where no one can see it. Something that has no warmth in it. Something with edges. I call it purpose. Other people might call it something else. Chapter 7, Becoming Someone Else. Celeste. My father wants to sue. To expose. To take the matter to every court and every newspaper and make the doctor's son's carefully built life collapse publicly and completely. I tell him no. My mother wants to retrieve Lily legally, immediately, to announce to the world that Celeste Voss is alive and that her child was stolen. I tell her no. They look at me the way people look at someone they're not sure they recognize anymore. Good. I'm not sure I recognize myself. Here's what I know. If I announce myself, they will hide her. Lawyers will intervene. Papers will be filed. Years will pass in courtrooms while my daughter grows up knowing her mother came back and what she came back as. If I go to them, to him as myself, he will see me coming. So I will go as someone else. Takes 3 months. 3 months of physical therapy. My muscles had wasted beneath the cryopreservation and had to be rebuilt painfully day by day. And 3 months of my father's people building a new identity. A woman named Clara Vane. South African-born, British-educated, recently relocated to New York. A teacher with impeccable credentials. I change my hair. Dark brown becomes deep auburn. I wear contact lenses that shift my eyes from near black to amber. I wear clothes that are quieter than anything Celeste Voss ever chose. I stand in front of the mirror and I look at Clara Vane. She looks back at me. Patient. Unhurried. Take everything he loves, I say to her. She does not flinch. Neither do I. The one thing I do before I leave, the one thing I do as Celeste for Celeste, is this. I find Marcus. Not difficult. My father has kept a file. Marcus Hale, 40 years old, property investor, married to a woman named Diana, father of twin boys, member of 3 golf clubs, resident of Santon. The same city. The same circles. As though he simply stepped sideways into a parallel version of the life we were supposed to have. He answers his phone on the 3rd ring. He doesn't know my number. He would not know this number. Hello. I say nothing for exactly 4 seconds. Who is this? His voice has changed. Heavier. More careful. You know who this is, I say. The silence that follows is so complete I can hear him breathing. That's not possible, he whispers. You're dead. Did that make things easier for you? I ask. When you moved on so quickly. Did it help knowing I was dead? Celeste. I know about the woman, I say. I knew the whole time. I just didn't want to know. Do you understand the difference? He says my name again. He sounds like a man who has seen something he cannot categorize. I don't need anything from you, I tell him. I just needed you to know that I'm alive. And that I remember everything. And that I am going to be fine. I pause. I'm not sure you will be. But that isn't my problem. I hang up. I stand at my window and look out at Johannesburg spread below me like an old map. Then I pick up my bag. I get on the plane. Chapter 8 New York New Name. Celeste/Clara. New York smells like everything at once. I stand at the taxi rank outside JFK with my single carry-on. I have learned in the months of recovery to travel light, to want less, to take up less space, and I breathe it in. The cold. The carbon. The particular aggressive energy of 8 million people going somewhere. I had been here twice before. Once at 19 shopping with my mother. Once at 22 for a friend's gallery opening in Chelsea. Those visits exist in me like photographs of someone else's life. I find my accommodation. A furnished apartment in Brooklyn. Modest, clean, with a window that looks onto a fire escape and beyond it the geometry of city rooftops. I have always lived in spaces designed to impress. This space is designed for nothing except functionality, and there is a relief in that I don't quite expect. I sit on the edge of the bed. I open my laptop. I look at the website for Westbrook Academy, an independent school on the Upper West Side. I look at the entry for their new English and drama teacher, hired through an educational placement agency my father's people had taken great care with. Miss Clara Vane. Starting immediately. I look at the school's homepage. The photographs. Children in uniforms. Teachers in hallways. A garden with a mural. A principal's welcome message. And then, I had known it was there, I had prepared for it. There is a photograph from the previous year's winter performance. The audience, proud parents, standing and applauding. In the third row, a man. Young. Dark-haired. Broad-shouldered. Looking up at the stage with an expression so full of uncomplicated pride that it stops my breath entirely. And on the stage, in a white costume with a tinsel crown, looking out at the audience. My daughter. Lily. She has my eyes. Even in this small pixelated photograph I can see it. The same shape. The same darkness. Looking out at the world without fear, which I think, I have to believe, is something she got from me too. I close the laptop. I press my hand flat against my sternum. The thing I built there, the sharp, purposeful thing, is still there. But beside it now is something else. Something that aches in a way that has no name. I breathe through it. Tomorrow I meet them. Tomorrow everything begins. Chapter 9, Miss Vane. Ethan. I drop Lily off at school every morning. This is non-negotiable. I have built my entire life around what is non-negotiable, and Lily is at the top of the list. Before the company. Before the deals. Before the carefully managed social life that my business partner Kofi keeps trying to encourage and I keep quietly dismantling. You need a life, Kofi says at least twice a week. I have a life, I tell him. You have a daughter and a company and a plant on your window ledge that's probably dead. The plant is fine. It is not fine. But this is not the point. The point is that on the Monday morning of the second week of October, I walk Lily to her classroom and find that her English teacher, Mr. Osei, who has been at Westbrook for 11 years and smells of chalk and peppermints, is gone. On medical leave. Returning, the admin board says when he returns. In his place stands a woman. My first impression, she is standing with her back to the door writing something on the board. Auburn-haired. She is wearing a white shirt and dark trousers and she moves with the precise, unself-conscious grace of someone who was once told she was beautiful so many times that they simply absorbed it and moved on. Miss Vane. Lily says. The woman turns. She has amber eyes. Striking. The kind of striking that makes you look and then look again because you can't quite trust the first look. She is young. Late 20s maybe. And there is something about her face. I stand in the doorway, Lily's hand in mine, and I try to place it, that specific feeling like a word you can't quite find. You must be Lily, she says. Her voice is. Something happens when she speaks. It is a low voice, warm, controlled. The voice of someone who chooses their words with care. Lily, who is shy with most adults and will perform elaborate avoidance maneuvers rather than speak to strangers, says, Yes. I like your earrings. Miss Vane smiles. I have prepared myself for all sorts of things in my life. I have prepared for failure and loss and the specific exhausting bravery of raising a child alone. I have not prepared for the way this woman's smile does something to the air in the room. And you must be Lily's father, she says, turning to me. Ethan Cole, I say. Something flickers across her face. Fast. I would miss it if I weren't watching carefully, and I wasn't even sure why I was watching carefully. A blink. A slight adjustment in her expression. Then it's gone and she is simply a teacher extending her hand. Miss Vane, she says. It's nice to meet you, Mr. Cole. Her handshake is firm. Her eyes hold mine for exactly the right amount of time. Not too long, not too brief. I let go of her hand. I kiss Lily's head and tell her to be good. In the car park, I sit in my car for 30 seconds before starting the engine. I'm not sure why. Celeste. He doesn't recognize me. Of course he doesn't. He saw me once at night in the rain through a broken window. I was 25 and bleeding and my hair was straight and black and plastered to my face. He was a child. But I recognize him. He has the same eyes. The same quality of attention. That careful, watchful quality I remember from the road, from the corridor of the clinic, from the boy who sat beside a baby he had no reason to love and decided to love her anyway. He is not a boy now. He is 27 years old. He is tall and solid, and there is a steadiness to him that sits differently than the steadiness of men who were born to certainty. This is steadiness that was built, earned. The kind that comes from having carried things. I noticed all of this in approximately 4 seconds, and I am deeply, sincerely furious about it. This is not the plan. The plan does not include noticing things. Then there is Lily. I had prepared for Lily. I had looked at photographs. I had told myself, she is a child you do not know. She is a stranger. She is the instrument through which you will reach him. Do not let her be anything else. She walks into my classroom and she is 9 years old and she has my eyes and her first comment is about my earrings. Small gold hoops, nothing remarkable, and she says it with the perfectly confident unself-consciousness of someone who has never been made to feel that her opinions are unwelcome. He gave her that. The thought arrives quietly and sits somewhere uncomfortable. He gave her that confidence. That ease. That is a child who has been loved without condition, and the man who did it is standing in my doorway looking at her like she is the only thing he ever got completely right. I breathe in. I breathe out. The plan, I remind myself. Stay on the plan. Miss Vane, she says. I like your earrings. I smile at my daughter. Thank you, sweetheart, I say. I like yours too. She beams. God help me. Chapter 10. Getting closer. Then, Kofi meets Miss Vane 3 weeks into the school term at the autumn parents' evening, and immediately decides she is significant. She's remarkable, he says in the car afterwards. The way she talked about Lily's writing, she said she has a rare emotional intelligence for her age. Those were her exact words. Rare emotional intelligence. Kofi. She's also objectively beautiful, but I didn't mention that because I thought it might make things weird. You're making it weird right now. I'm making it interesting. Those are different things. I look out the window. The city moves past, illuminated. She's Lily's teacher, I say. Temporarily, Kofi says. Mr. Osei comes back in February. It's October. So you've got 4 months, he says cheerfully, to do something completely normal like ask a woman to dinner. I don't answer. He turns the music up. He has been my business partner and best friend since I was 19 and new to this country and entirely alone, and he found me working in the building he was trying to invest in and decided, for reasons I've never fully understood, that I was worth knowing. He is the most relentlessly optimistic person I have ever met, and sometimes this is genuinely irritating. I saw the way she shook your hand, he adds. It was a handshake. It was a very deliberate handshake. There are handshakes and then there are handshakes. That was a handshake that meant something. Good night, Kofi. He laughs all the way to my front door. Celeste. The parents' evening is both easier and harder than I expect. Easier because I am good at this. I have reinvented myself from the ground up, and Clara Vane is a woman of warmth and precision, a woman who knows exactly what to say and when to say it. I speak to parents and they lean toward me. I speak about their children and I mean it, because whatever I came here to do, the children are real and teaching them is real, and I will not perform care I do not feel. Harder because Ethan Cole arrives last. He is slightly late. He texted the school, I was told, to say he'd been held up at work. He comes in still slightly breathless, loosening his tie, apologizing to the receptionist. He has a friend with him, a tall, grinning man he introduces as Kofi, and when he settles into the small chair across my desk, he looks at me with those careful, watchful eyes and says, "How is she really doing?" Not the official version. I blink. The official version is the real version, I say. Lily is exceptional. She reads above her level, she writes with genuine feeling, and she is kind to the children who find social things harder. That is not performance. That is who she is. He is quiet for a moment. She's had a lot of, it's just the two of us, he says. I want to make sure she's okay. That she's not missing anything. I look at him. Mr. Cole, I say carefully. Whatever Lily may be missing, she is not missing love. A child who is loved the way she clearly is loved doesn't hide it. It's in everything she does. Something moves in his face. Complicated. Relieved, and something else beneath that. Thank you, he says quietly. I nod. Kofi, beside him, is watching me with the expression of a man who thinks he knows something. He doesn't. Nobody knows anything. But I am, very quietly, beginning to understand that the sharp thing I built behind my sternum is not the only thing living there. Chapter 11. The Fault Lines. Celeste. There is a moment. I pinpoint it later, try to understand exactly when it happened, where the plan begins to shift. It is a Wednesday, 3 weeks after parents' evening. Lily stays after class to help me rearrange the bookshelves. Her suggestion, not mine, offered with the casual authority of someone who has decided we are friends and is simply waiting for me to confirm it. Miss Vane, she says, pulling a book from the lower shelf. Do you have a family? Children ask this. It is normal. I have answered it before in the version of this life I am performing. I have parents, I say. And grandparents. Brothers or sisters? No. She considers this. Me neither. Sometimes I wish I did. She reshelves the book with the particular care of someone who respects books. Dad says I have him and that's enough. But he says it like he's trying to convince himself too. I go very still. He sounds like he tries hard, I say. He tries really hard, she agrees matter-of-factly. He came to every single thing at school last year. Even the sports day where we just ran in circles and it rained. She makes a face. He brought an umbrella. That sounds like someone who loves you very much. He does, she says softly. But sometimes he looks at me and looks like he's seeing a ghost. I think he misses my mom. I can barely breathe. Did he tell you about her? Only that she was beautiful, Lily says, looking up, her dark eyes reflecting the afternoon light. And that she had to go away before I was born. He has a box in his closet. He thinks I don't know, but I've seen it. It has a tiny blanket in it and a South African coin. The room feels entirely silent. The sound of my own pulse is deafening. He kept a box. He kept a piece of the night everything began. And my daughter, my beautiful living daughter, stands in front of me telling me about the phantom shape of myself he has carried across oceans, all while I have been planning to dismantle the only world she has ever known.